Steve, we of course have seen the news today, just with DFAing Austin Barnes and reporting Dalton Rushing. Can you just take us behind the curtain as to what led to this decision and what made the most sense to do it right now?
This was certainly a tough conversation. Austin is a Dodger for life. He helped us win the championship. Caught the last pitch in 2020 in the World Series. And he's done a lot of great things in the community, for the Dodgers, for myself personally. And I just think that for us right now, with what Dalton Rushing is doing on the performance side, it's an opportunity to challenge him, expand his growth, give him an opportunity to log some major league games, and essentially give him some runway.
This was a pivotal spring training for him. At what pointed to just showing that he's ready for this next step in this opportunity?
You know, he's certainly very physical. The bat has always played, that's always been his carrying tool. The receiving has gotten much better, the arm strength is there. The relationship with the pitchers has continued to grow. And all the reports that we've got on the AAA side, just improvement all around. And so with the maturity that he has, the performance, we just felt that it was the right time. And you know, unfortunately, we've got to move on from a player that's such a professional like Austin Barnes.
How much do you expect Dalton to play, and will it mostly be behind the plate, or will there be some maybe outfield other stuff there too?
I don't see any outfield. It could change, but I think that for me, he's going to start tomorrow, and I see him probably catching, 2 times a week, taking pinch hit at bats, and I think kind of the thought was to get him more familiar with our pitchers and catch bullpens and obviously take at bats off the bench, but certainly getting starts.
How much is this as much about Dalton as it is about Will Smith, and just how the past couple of years he's kind of worn down and the offensive production has gone down? Is that the thought behind this? Because Barnes was only catching once a week.
Yeah, it's more, it's driven, it's a combo, I would say, Dave. I think if you've seen how I've managed Will this year, it's been a little bit on the conservative side. And I think that there is some part of it where I want to make sure I keep him fresh and wanting for more as the season goes on. And then I see some runway for a backup catcher. And I think that, like I said, Dalton's earned this opportunity.
How long has this been something that was on your guys' radar, or how quickly did this pop up over the last couple of days or yesterday?
I think it popped up very quickly. We're always thinking about how we can make our club better. But Austin's, he's been a mainstay, for our club for 8 years. So it's certainly not easy. But I think that the performance from Dalton kind of really sped this up.
Is it something where, obviously, he was playing every day down there, probably not going to play like every day here, like, how do you guys kind of balance, his development, especially like getting more opportunities to catch? Do you think some of the stuff you can do behind the scenes here kind of helps offset that? Like, how much of that do you guys have to kind of...
That's the thing. That's the thought, Jack. It's there's no one way to do it, an exact science to it. We did it with Will before his rookie year, brought him up in September to kind of get assimilated with how we do things on the game planning stuff. So, yeah, in one sense, to not take at bats every day, you could see as some downside. But I think that, us talking internally, having him here in this environment, around our pitchers, around our coaches, understand how we game plan, understanding major league hitters, and then to most importantly, log major league at bats, I think just net sum was more positive.
How much can you kind of use him off the bench in hitting spots? Like, obviously, just the second, can you be somewhat aggressive there, even as the second catcher coming off the bench?
I think, yeah. I mean, I'm going to be aggressive, but ultimately, with a lead, you still got to be mindful of not being naked without a backup catcher. So I think that I'm going to be mindful in the constructs of how you manage a game, but I trust the at-bat quality.
Tommy and Teo both out, is now kind of a time when you want to see someone who could potentially, be a spark in the lineup like Dalton?
Yeah, I think that, and this is more, again, this is a Dalton performance situation that he's earned this opportunity. But I do, it's been nice having, Hae-Sung around and having, James's energy around, and also for a guy who's making his major league debut potentially tonight or tomorrow. I think that kind of infusion is good for our veteran ball club.
How much goes into it, though? You, besides the numbers, whatever, has Austin kind of meant to you guys, what are some things that he brought?
Austin is a guy that's far beyond the numbers. He's a glue guy. He's a guy that there's a lot of banter. He held guys accountable. He was tough. I mean, he had a very innate ability to get big hits, and he was respected across the board. And so when you lose a presence like that, there's always kind of, pause, I guess. But when we bring in a talent like, Dalton and the way he's performed, we feel good about the culture we have already in place. But, how Austin's impacted our pitching staff, that's going to continue to go on.
Dave, for the longest time, Clayton's had kind of a partner behind the plate, A.J. Ellis, then it went to Austin. With him coming back, is there any plan to team him up, or will it, whoever fits that day for the opposing pitcher will be the catcher?
Yeah, Will's our starting catcher. That's not going to change. So I don't think that we've certainly gone away from the personal catcher. But if it lines up that that Dalton catches him, that'll be fine. And if it doesn't, then it's going to be Will. But I'm not going to kind of pair Clayton up with any catcher.
If Kevin Sheehan was out there throwing today, what's kind of his track look like from here?
So I was in a meeting earlier, so I didn't see it, but Emmett is tracking, and it's coming quick. So I know he threw to some hitters, and everything I've heard, the delivery, the health has been fantastic, and he's going to be a little sneaky pick to click sometime later this summer. So I don't have the timeline, but this guy's put in a lot of work, and have that type of velocity and command is going to be very helpful at some point.
Is there Blake Snell?
Blake threw out to 60 feet today, and I didn't see it, so I'll report back. But I did know that he got the okay from the docs to start his throwing progression.
What does this mean today with Teoscar and Tommy Edman? How?
So they did their stuff. I still, as we sit here Wednesday, I don't want to kind of, I don't want to put too much expectation on these guys, but, it's probably going to be after the weekend, probably most likely for both those guys.
Will they have to go out and play a game somewhere?
That's going to be decided, and we'll leave it to those guys. I talked to Tommy yesterday. He's not going to take a rehab assignment. The at-bats that he's taking are sufficient. Teo is kind of trying to figure out if he needs to go on a couple-day rehab or not. So that's up to the player.
What is Tommy?
I didn't see it today, but from what I've heard, it's probably 5 to 7, something like that.
How has Tommy's ankle felt in recent days running?
Much better, much better. I think that the lateral, the infield defense has been fine, the hitting fine. When he gets to top speed, that's where it's gets a little tricky. So the outfield running at full speed is where it's kind of, we're held up a little bit.
You still see him, there potentially being a need to have him in the outfield a little more often when he's back?
Not necessarily. I think that, the way Andy's been playing, obviously contingent on Teo when he gets back. I think that I'll probably use him the way I've used him, but I would still see probably more second base if if I had a quick thought.
Just with having Blake Snell slow us down, Tyler Brown's down playing catch, just how encouraging is that in regard to the rotation and knowing that they're at least on that right track to working for that?
It's very encouraging. I think we do a good job of kind of making sure these guys get back, but not not moving forward without them, and giving other guys opportunities. But yeah, Tyler's seems like he's in a great spot. Blake today, and obviously with the Roki stuff yesterday. But we're still moving along, and Tony's been great for us. Dustin in his first year back, and Len has been fine. So we're making our way.
Do you know if Roki's going to get a shot or anything like that?
I don't think he is. I think that we're going to take the ball out of his hand and go that route for the time being.
Do you have a favorite moment in all your years managing Austin Barnes?
Yeah, the hit against Blake Snell to go to the pen. That was a good one. And the arms up, embracing Julio in Texas. That was a great moment. He's not a very emotional guy, but some of the memes that I've seen in the postseason, but I love that guy.
How did he take it?
Like a pro. Like a pro. I mean, I have no, I expect him to hook up with somebody else and impact another ball club. There's still more baseball in there from him, but he understood, our decision and respected it. But yeah, like a pro.
He has really good relationships with all the guys in that clubhouse, but especially for a young player like Dalton, for the time they spent together during spring training, how valuable do you think he was just preparing Dalton for this next step?
He did great, with Fetty, with Dalton, even his and Will's relationship, but I think a lot of his superpower has been kind of, getting the pitchers to be the best they can be, and he's obviously known for his receiving, and so, and obviously his knack for getting a big hit. Thanks for popping in, EK.